America! Red Ho coming back at you again, and it is the month of September. September is very well known for a very wild and freaky temperature. We're talking hot, we're talking cold, we're talking a mix, we're talking holy crap, make up your mind. But with all that, let's get started. The first thing I'd like to do is do a pause of reflection for the victims of the 9/11 2001 terrorist attack on the Twin Towers. If you would please just pause for reflection. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I did mention in the Facebook page. If you don't know what it is, it's Good Day America Facebook page. I'm trying to get people to say where they were at during the whole 9/11 terrorist attack. And of course, I said I was going to say where I was at. Well, at the time, I was in the service. I was stationed overseas in Germany. And believe it or not, with the time difference, it was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And, well, let's just say I was underneath a truck. And somebody comes out to me and tells everybody, really, hey, we have to have a formation immediately. The Twin Towers have been hit. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what the F is the Twin Towers? No freaking clue what the Twin Towers were. So we, of course, we all go up to our formation spot that we normally go. Our first sergeant, he says, yes, so we have um, had a plane crash into a Twin Towers. And so as of right now, we are at ThreatCon Charlie. Now, ThreatCon Charlie is probably the second to worst that you could possibly get. So he said, we'll give you some more information as it comes along. Just sit tight, and we'll figure out what we're going to do next. By that time, the phone started ringing. So he runs inside real quick, and we're all sitting around like, what the heck's going on? Well, he comes out maybe 5 minutes later. He puts us all back into formation and says, okay, so it turns out that the Twin Tower being hit by planes was not an accident. It was actually an act of terrorism. We are now at ThreatCon Delta, which is the absolute worst that you could possibly do. The posts all over Europe, everywhere in the United States, all over the world were completely shut down, locking the gates, and they had to have a group of individuals that were trained on security. And of course, I didn't want to necessarily do security. It was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I wouldn't say I was tired because I was a young boy still, but 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I just kind of didn't raise my hand. And my platoon sergeant said, "Hey, you had that training. You go out there and you do that too." I'm like, "Well, okay. I guess I was voluntold, huh?" So we stayed up the all night long. The post is not really that big, but we did have our a security details going around the entire fence line, and we basically just checked to make sure there was no common or uncommon breaks in the fence line. So that way we knew 100% that that post was secure. Now I was not married yet, but I was with my now wife, and she was flipping out. She was going crazy. She thought, oh, they're going to deploy right away. They're just going to, I'll never see them again. And she was just completely distraught. And, and of course I couldn't see her probably for 2 days. And even then I had to talk to her through the gate. They allowed people to come up and, so through the gate, that was the only way I could talk to her. And the whole time was absolutely wild, absolutely crazy. Um, I wouldn't say sheer pandemonium, but I know there was quite a few places that were in that kind of state, and I truly am. Uh, I would get angry very easily when it comes to that kind of stuff. Now, I wouldn't get angry because of the specific religion, although I was pretty ignorant back then when it came to religion. But I was pretty ticked off about this these extremist groups. Now, obviously, they called it Al Qaeda, and of course, they had a few others later on became ISIS, what have you. But you know, you would think, how in the world could that have possibly happened to our country, who usually has a mega fortress or um, some sort of uh, security or some sort of intelligence that lets people on when this kind of stuff is happening. And as it turns out, they have so many of these kinds of tips, it was hard for them to determine whether it would actually happen, or at least that's what I was told. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I'm not going to say yay, nay, whatever happened, what actually happened, because I don't have that information. But that's where I was at. I was overseas, and Twin Towers was hit. Don't even know what the heck it was. I'm kind of repeating myself, but laugh at me. I don't care. So, but I wanted to obviously bring that up. Now, in some more current news, I'm trying to do the whole Robert Williams thing. It doesn't seem to fucking work very well. Anyway, so in case you didn't know, there was a Powerball that was up to $1.8 billion, and there were two winning tickets just recently. And holy cow, you're talking about insta rich, and not sure how well to take that as far. I mean, obviously I didn't win it, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this, or I'd be saying, yeah, it was me, woo. But how to take it? How would anybody really go through that process of going from having maybe means, maybe not means, to a multimillionaire practically overnight? So I compiled a bit of a list on the things that I would probably do if I was to win that kind of money, honestly. And so here is, and of course, I had to write this stuff down. And I write this stuff down because, quite frankly, my memory is getting to be as long as my pecker. So I'm not saying that my pecker is teeny weeny itty bitty, and I'm not saying that it's not, but I do know that it is long enough to get a woman pregnant because I do have a child. Now, I found out later on that it only takes 2 inches to get a girl pregnant. So there you go. I have at least 2 inches. Um, but of course, I also lied to my wife and told her that this was 6 inches. So take it or leave it, however you want. Okay. So now, for the things that I actually would do if I had won, even a partial level. We're talking if I would won just a half, like some of these people actually did. I don't know how that worked, but I would actually, first thing I would do is I would get a financial advisor. Now that would probably be one of the hardest things to do because, when they know that you're a multimillionaire, they're going to, you know, jump on the jump on it as fast as they possibly can. But in any event, get a financial advisor. I have a few possibilities as far as that goes, and find out, if the next things that I mentioned to here is actually a smart idea, if it's feasible. Make sure that no matter what, I would still have money coming in regardless of the things that I buy. Now, don't know the whole story behind that. I am not a financial advisor myself, but obviously I would pay off all the debt that I have. Probably not a whole ton of money by comparison, but I would pay off all my debt to make sure that's all free and clear. Um, I have already told my mother, because obviously this has been a subject that came across every once in a while, but I actually told my mom I would pay off their house, their mortgage, maybe even their car. I don't know, but I would pay off. I would at least pay off their mortgage. And so with paying off their mortgage, And then they could stay there rent free the rest of their lives and just be done with it after that. So the next thing I probably would do is I would probably buy a house and some land, of course, for myself. Probably build it from the ground up so that way we can have everything that we want in the house, design it however we'd like, and of course I gotta have a shop. I'm a bit of a gearhead, so I gotta have a shop. I gotta have something where I can, tinker with cars and that kind of crazy stuff. But I would do something like that, and of course, if all of this permits, I would love to buy and or build a 68 Impala Fastback. Now, the only reason why I chose that specific car is because my dad owned one during his time in Vietnam, and he said he really liked that car. He said if he had kept that car, it'd actually be worth some money now, which hindsight 2020, nobody really knows. But yeah, but I would actually like to, um, buy and or build a car, the '68 Fastback, and make it the color that he'd like. Put the bucket seats in. We would discuss kind of what his car was like, but I would put some updates in it. The basic simple car is all fine and good, and it's probably even worth more that way. But I would put a more updated stereo system in it because hey, I like Bluetooth. I like technology. Why not? I wouldn't probably go overboard like I might have done back in the 90s when I was a kid. You have these big 018s or some crap like that. I'm not into that kind of stuff anymore. Kind of matured out of that. But I would definitely do some updates like the Bluetooth speaker and have a good stereo system and that kind of stuff in it. And, like I've mentioned in previous podcasts, what I would really love to do is get a little bit of musical equipment. I used to be a drummer, so, get an electric drum set. Nothing overly fancy or nothing like that, but, that way I could tinker and play and enjoy that kind of music again. Maybe a little bit of recording music or DJ music or something along those lines. So that way I can enjoy my music again. So, but I think that's what I would do. The rest of it I'd probably put into some sort of a trust, either for my child, myself, both, whatever the case, which would be something that discussed with the financial advisor. All right, so now the next subject I'm bringing up, it's freaking hilarious, but I do have a disclaimer for this, okay? So just bear with me. All right, let's see. Red Ho and Good Day America does not have any affiliation with the product in the next segment, nor recommend or not recommend the use of this product. Now that I got that shit out the way, here's how we're going to do this. Now, anybody who actually listens to commercials, I don't usually listen to a whole lot of commercials, but one of them actually kind of caught my eye. Kind of weird, but it did catch my eye. So this is a new type of breast cancer medicine. Like I said, I don't know if it works or not. I'm not here to discuss whether it's worth a darn or if it's not worth a darn. I'm just curious about the name because the name is called Enhertu. Now, as soon as I heard it the first time, I'm just like, is that the dang redneck word? What letter does that start with? Does anyone know? Enhertu? I mean, it sounds like, hey, did you get in her too? It just doesn't sound like something that should be on a medicine. Even though the type of breast cancer medicine is for is a HER2 type breast cancer. So that part actually makes sense. But this name, you could have said Verfluktischizer or something like that, and nobody would know the difference. I mean, that's like having an ED medicine that's called Get In Her. I mean, just get in her. Like, you can now get in her again. I mean, does that sound like something that's very wild and crazy? I mean, I'm just saying. But It, for all I know, is a good medicine. It's probably expensive as all heck, but I'm going to leave that part alone. I'm going to digress on that. But speaking of male body parts, okay, I was watching Varsity Blues the other day. Oh my God! And then, of course, you had the sex education scene where he's describing all of these slang terms for the male erection. You know, for example, icicle form, the march is on, uh, stiff, stiffy, Mr. Mortis, rigor mortis is set in, mushroom on a stick, Mr. Mushroom Head, purple headed yogurt slinger, and Pedro. Pedro? Mm-hmm. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's kind of how things have been going. All right. So that's all I really do have for today. I didn't want to get too overcrowded. I do have some more stuff, maybe later on this month, maybe next month. Um, just depends on how I feel, really, because like I said, it's kind of a secondary type of scenario. But in October has always been a fun time for me. So next month I'll be probably talking more like Halloween, spooky, that kind of stuff. So if you do enjoy this, please subscribe to YouTube or to Spotify, either or. I will try to send them out on both sites, and yeah, subscribe. You'll see the regular basis of what's going on, and of course, tell your friends. If you think this is funny enough stuff where uh, they might enjoy it too. I might do a little bit of hippy dippy dance or some kind of crazy crap. I mean, I'm crazy. Just sitting here, probably not as much. It's not as funny, but maybe if somebody give me, hey, why don't you just take your shirt off and go and do the huff truffle shuffle? I might actually do that. But you never know. So after all of that, I thank you very much for coming in. Please subscribe. Please like. I would love to hear your comments, and it would be awesome as hell. Okay. So until next time, good day, America.